This is the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra.
O God of our land, we put our today's broadcast into your hand. God of the land of the rising sun, it is you that created all things. We've gathered together in great numbers to thank you for all you have been doing in our lives. We thank you for having empowered us. We thank you for the light of the day that we can see. You are a great God. We thank you for the voice that you have given us to reach to the four corners of the world. We thank you for the voice you have given us to reach to all. We thank you for the wisdom. We are still scratching the surface in our bid to understand you. We humble ourselves before you, O Great One. We have come once again to ask you for direction. We are on our knees, asking you to direct us, to empower us, to lead us, to show us the way. Our land is in great turmoil, and we are reaching out to the world. A chick being devoured by a hawk is crying, not for the thing that's holding it captive to relent, but for the whole world to hear his agonizing voice, to know what is happening. Empower us, O God of our land. Empower us, O God of the universe. Empower us, the enigma that created all things. We honor you in all the market days. We honor you in Eke. We honor you in Ori. We honor you in Afo. We honor you in Nkwo, the 4 days, the 4 market days. Empower us, Almighty, and amplify our voice to reach the zenith. Give our leaders the wisdom to follow the right direction. Give us the eloquence. Give us the necessary support to baffle our enemies. Help us in BCB to raise our banners to the 4 corners of the universe. We know that when you are on our side, our journey will be light. Gather all the word and open their ears to our messages, to hear our cries, to hear our cry for freedom. Our land must be free, O great one. May your will prevail. He say,
And here is a special announcement from the leadership of Biafra government in exile. This is BCB.
Friends, brothers, and sisters, I come to you today from the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra. On Saturday, the 26th of June, 2021, the leader of one of our pro-Biafra organizations, the Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB, was abducted and held in solitary confinement by the Nigerian state. Unconfirmed reports indicate that the abduction took place in an African country where he was transiting on his way back to the United Kingdom. We have reliable information that he is now in the custody of the Nigerian Secret Police, otherwise known as the DSS. He was arraigned briefly in a court in Abuja on Monday, the 28th of June, 2021. We understand he will be held there until his court hearing recommences on the 26th of July, 2021. First and foremost, Biafra government in exile condemn in the strongest terms this abduction and detention of Kanu. We will hold the Nigerian government accountable for his safety and well-being whilst in their custody. We also expect, as do the international community, that he be treated with the utmost care, fairness, openness, and human dignity. We equally expect his trial to be fair, open, transparent, and not in secret. Nnamdi Kanu is now a political prisoner and suffering the same fate past political prisoners like Nelson Mandela, Aung San Suu Kyi, Mahatma Gandhi suffered in apartheid South Africa, in Burma, and in colonial India, respectively. It is vital to state that Nnamdi Kanu, an Igbo Biafra man, has not committed any criminal offense that should warrant his abduction and detention by the Nigerian government in this manner. Nnamdi, like many others, are fighting peacefully, in his case, through radio broadcasting, for fairness, equity, and justice. He has never carried arms. Rather, he's made his voice, his belief, and his hopes heard through the radio. This is a fundamental human right. The right to free speech and the right to choose who you associate or affiliate with. The demand for freedom and self-determination is not a demand for war and any form of violence. All pro-Biafra groups agitating for Biafra to exit from Nigeria have done so in a peaceful manner, through peaceful rallies, through prayers, through marches, and sitting at home in solemn prayer, reflection, and remembrance. Sadly, this peaceful approach has been met with brute force. Nigerian government under President Buhari consistently and constantly unleashing terror and mayhem on innocent peaceful protesters who are demanding to exercise their God-given right to self-determination. Thousands of unarmed Biafrans have been murdered by the Nigerian security forces from Aba to Mpo, from Enugu to Owerri, from Olo to Osu, from Iguacha to Ogoja. Thousands more have been abducted and languishing in various army locations across the land. It will appear that the killing of Biafrans is something the federal government of Nigeria take with real joy in doing. Again, the killing of Biafrans have become an industry in Nigeria. But one thing is certain: no amount of abductions, intimidations, high-handedness, extrajudicial killings, detentions, and torture of Biafra agitators will stop the legitimate and peaceful agitation for the restoration of the sovereign state of Biafra. Nigeria as a nation is on its knees. It's suffering, it's bleeding from left, right, and center, riddled with poverty, especially child poverty, corrupt and inept leadership, banditry, criminal politicians, virtually no economic plan, zero productive capacity, poor health care, no social care, poor education, poor infrastructure, insecurity. It's become a haven for terrorists, Boko Haram, Fulani headsmen, and ISIS West Africa. The focus for Buhari and his Fulani government should have been how to defeat terrorists, fight poverty and hunger, strengthen productivity, encourage competition, strengthen the currency, and give the people renewed hope and rebuild shattered confidence and trust. But no, they choose to reward Boko Haram terrorists, fund terrorist Fulani headsmen because they are his kith and kin, and provide weapons for Islamic jihad against the peoples of the South. There is no fair play, no justice, as the government of Nigeria watch terrorists, herdsmen, inflict terror on communities in the Middle Belt, in Yoruba land and Biafra land. We know Buhari supports terrorists. We know Buhari funds terrorists and recruit them into Nigerian army. We know the government pays bandits. Sheikh Gumi confirmed that. We know that the Buhari government appoints terrorists into their cabinet. Pantami is a federal minister. But they hound defenseless, innocent Biafran agitators like wild animals. Under President Goodluck Jonathan, human rights were respected. People went about and protested. Even Buhari led various protests against the government. That was the beauty of democracy and civil society. No one was arrested. Biafrans protested peacefully too, without fear of intimidation, abduction, and death in the hands of the army and the police. The demand for Biafra exit is a noble one. We respect the rights of people who believe in a restructured Nigeria. They too should respect the rights of those who want a separate Biafra nation. In every civilized society, political questions are resolved using political democratic process, a process of referendum or plebiscite. People should have the freedom to exercise their human rights of association, of worship, of speech, and of life. No one should be denied those rights. In seeking for freedom and self-determination, the peoples and nation of Biafra make neither peace nor war with the peoples and nation of Nigeria. Rather, we exercise a natural law, a natural right, a popular right, a political right, and a right supported by United Nations Organization, Charter, and international law, the right of self-determination. For the avoidance of doubt, I want to categorically state that we do not support violence in any way, shape, or form in our quest to exit from Nigeria and become a free, independent Biafra nation. All pro-Biafra organizations at home and in diaspora adopt a non-violent approach. We are not, and have not, and shall not be involved in any form of criminal destruction of lives and properties. We vehemently disassociate ourselves from such form of criminal activities. I call on all free nations, with good conscience and true commitment to fairness, equity, and justice, to, for the first time, show true conviction in doing the right thing. We know you have interest to protect. We know you have business and financial ventures to protect. But there comes a time when doing the right thing overrides business considerations. That time, for us and for the rest of Africa, is now. We ask you to prevail on Nigeria to allow a free and fair political process to resolve the issue of Biafra. It is the right thing to do. The British people were allowed a vote on their future, and they chose to leave the European Union. That was the right thing to do. We ask you again, prevail on Buhari to stop sponsoring terrorists. The aid money you give to him and to Nigeria end up in the hands of terrorists, those who are prepared to harm you and harm us. These terrorists have shown they not only harm Biafrans, but they can also harm you in the United Kingdom. They can harm you in the United States, in Australia, in Canada, in Israel, and other places in Europe. You have an obligation to act now, to do the right thing. This is the right thing to do. We ask you to call on the Nigerian government to release Nnamdi Kanu immediately. He is a United Kingdom national, a peaceful campaigner for freedom, equity, and justice. It is the right thing to do. History will tell you that the role you played in the massacre of over 3.5 million Biafrans between 1967 and 1970 was wrong. It was genocide, and you aided and abetted it, either by looking the other way, or by supplying the weapons that killed men, women, and children. Perhaps this is a good time to make it right, to do the right thing, and to rewrite history. Show the strength of your conviction, lead by example, and do the right thing this one time. To all Biafrans at home and in diaspora, I implore you to continue to be peaceful, to go about your lawful businesses calmly. Whatever happens, believe and keep the faith. As sure as the sun rises from the east and sets in the west day after day, also our hope for freedom shall not be extinguished. It shall never die. It is time for everyone to come together, regardless of your group or affiliation. This is our time. This is our moment. With new and renewed hope and honesty, sincerity, and good courage, let us march forward together, at home and in diaspora, to our destination, to a free nation of equity, fairness, opportunity, competition, of merit, duty, and the fear of God. To all political, socio-cultural, traditional, and spiritual leaders, to our elders, we love and respect you. We ask you for one thing and one thing only. Be strong and bold. Stand for the truth. Speak the truth. Take a stand for freedom and justice. Do not let generations to come suffer indignity, annihilation, and slavery. Do the right thing. Your wise counsel, direction, and advice is required now more than ever before. There is still time for real change. There is still time to turn from darkness to light. Do not let your people, our children, suffer one day longer. May God bless you as you take this stand. Finally, I call on the Nigerian government to embrace dialogue and constructive engagement with Biafra agitators, with the view to finding a comprehensive, peaceful arrangement that will enable Biafra to leave Nigeria in a civilized and peaceful and democratic manner. This is the right thing to do. Stop the killing of Biafrans. Stop the killing of innocent, unarmed, peaceful agitators. Stop arresting, abducting, and disappearing peaceful freedom fighters and agitators of freedom, and come to the negotiating table. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Today we lost one of our editorial board members and friend, Brother Charles Onyulo. He was a staunch advocate for Biafra. May he rest in peace. May our ancestors and gods welcome him back home with open arms. We will miss him. We will miss his contribution to this work of liberation. But we hold him in our hearts, remembering that we will meet again. Adieu, Brother Charles. La nudo. La nudo. May you go in peace. May you go in peace. We now ask for 1 minute of silence in memory of Brother Charles Onyulo. I am Rose Ama. Murder in the streets of Nigeria, the death of innocents. This is for the disappeared and traumatized Nigerian youth, especially those in Biafra land whose whereabouts remain a mystery to us. We have not forgotten you. You eat your young, you eat your future. You kill your young, death awaits you in the future. The Nigerian government is devouring its offspring, the next generation. How can there be any hope for the future? The younger generation is angry, lost, frustrated by the antics of a government that sees its youth as enemies of state. Nigerian youth's anger has been latent for years, waiting for a moment to explode. In October 2020, it exploded, spilling into the streets of Lagos and several other cities across Nigeria. The youth were protesting police brutality. The federal government and its security forces saw that as justification for satisfying their long-simmering distrust of young people by arresting and even executing many of them. We point out that Nigeria has never fully recognized the power or anger of its youth, marginalized, abused, silenced, and disrespected. How does one respond to a president describing its youth as lazy, even as that body is required to contribute to the national growth through a National Youth Service Corps, NYSC? Let's not ask about salaries. What happened to the promise that a university education will get one a job or move one out of poverty? Just recently, the same president, Muhammadu Buhari, in his great arrogance, informed the youth that the federal government of Nigeria has no job vacancies for them in any civil service sector. In other words, the government of Nigeria has abdicated its responsibility to this young group of people and has aborted their future for several generations. A hungry man or woman is an angry man or woman, Bob Marley sang a long time ago. With the hashtag #EndSARSNow protest, a very hungry youth and an angry one starving for nourishment unleashed its venom at a society that has forgotten it. What answer or answers does Nigeria have for this generation whose hopes and dreams have been dashed by empty promises? Death, death of democracy, death of innocence, death of justice, death of hope, death of the very future they were promised. Where then does one begin to tell the story of this atrocity, this nightmare of a parent devouring its own young? One might think that the #EndSARSNow protest of 2020 would call the Nigerian government's attention to the suffering of its young. Rather, Buhari's government has been obsessed with dictatorial control of the youth. In fact, dictatorial control of everyone, particularly those in Biafra land. And so, in May 2021, the government turned its attention to youth in Biafra land, killing them en masse. Between April and May of 2021, as we reported in an earlier program in June 2021, Buhari's government sanctioned the kidnapping, murders, and disappearances of young people in several cities in Biafra land, particularly in predominantly ethnic Igbo locations, with a special focus on Imo State. And to date, many affected families are yet to find out about the fate of their kidnapped children. A young student in Imo State University, IMSU, told me that the young are still traumatized, afraid to go out late. Their studies have been disrupted. Quote and unquote, "We are trying to survive." Another underscored that security is still a problem, although things seem quiet now. What type of life is that? For the families of those kidnapped youth, there is no closure. Meanwhile, the Nigerian government continues to claim that these acts of violence, abductions, and murders are committed by unknown gunmen. We ask again, who are these unknown gunmen? How can a leadership be so inept, so asleep at the desk that it cannot protect its own people, that it cannot solve the mystery of the so-called unknown gunmen, yet it has the resources to terrorize ordinary Biafrans? Where is Buhari holding our sons and brothers, we ask? We use this opportunity to continue our demand that Buhari and his government return our children, return the abducted Biafran youth. We call on the international community and civic society to break their silence on the genocide being carried out against Biafra through the disappearing of its people, especially its youth. If you are listening to this program, join the fight to hold the Nigerian government accountable. Call on the Nigerian government to stop the murder of its young people by writing to the Nigerian Consulate General or Embassy in the United States or in your specific country of residence. Speak up. Speak out. You must hold the Nigerian government accountable. This is for our youth. This is Rose Ama.
Mr. Speaker, we need to address certain things. The Nigerian youth, social media, yes, though good, has its negative impact. Let me first thank you for condemning the wanton killing and carnage that happened at Lekki. When I went through the comments, I did not believe it. The curses, the abuses from children.
You don't win election, so you don't care anymore. 29 million, you be seeing it all. You done the match also, but you say make me not talk. Oh. Say me police not they shoot us, but you bring soldier. Wahala dey, if you know, wahala dey, and they kill us. Wahala dey, if you know, wahala dey, and they kill us. So that's okay.
Before this all started, we had reports that the CCTV cameras and all the lights at the scene were put off, and then the security operatives fired shots, resulting in people scampering to safety.
With the camcorder, people don't die and they won't go down. Now only God know who go settle the matter, cause I don't know where the country they walk out. Now who go die next, and I mean you're my brother. Now how will you think that we know this the pattern? Who get the order to shoot us all? Who get the order to kill us all? If you don't know, and they kill us, if you don't know, then they kill us, so that's okay. If you don't know, then they kill us, if you don't know, then they kill us, so that's okay.
People having the effrontery to enter an Oba's palace, hold the staff of office. Culture is gone. Mr. Speaker, in the next 5 years, there will be no Nigeria.
Good day, Biafrans. This is Rose Ama in conversation with Dr. Eze Nwoha, who is the Secretary for Health for Biafra. And this is part of our conversation series with Biafran government in exile officials, as well as Biafrans who are interested in talking to us. We want to know what you think. We want to know how you perceive this struggle. And we want to know what advice you have to give us as we move forward in this quest for freedom and justice for Biafrans and for some people would say Igbo land. So I am creating that opportunity. However you see it, Igbo land or Biafra, which is expansive and inclusive, we are all engaged in the same quest. So we begin this conversation today. I want to say hello to my brother and welcome. And thank you for agreeing to have this conversation with us. And we know you're very, very busy, but here we are, since we are committed to the same goal. You are a member of BGIE. What does BGIE do? That's part of my first question. And what differentiates it from the other groups engaged in the same struggle?
Okay, thank you so much, sister. You are doing a great job because the inception of this radio gave us hope that the world will hear our voice. And I think you are doing the job. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Right. I am a member of BGIE from the beginning. I'm proud to say that. I got myself involved with them in the year 201. A good friend of my brother, Mado, who died last 2 years, got me involved with them. And Prof. Senekwechi was the prime minister. It's great to know that these great men are there. So, prior to this, we have, or rather, I had random talks with most of our people scattered everywhere, those around me here in Madrid. We had nothing to talk about except talking about Biafra and what we did at the war fronts, because most of us were veterans. But when Dr. Mado, who is a surgeon in Barcelona, also in Madrid, in Spain, got hold of me, the whole thing changed. I got involved with BGIE. He just been recently informed. I mean, recently formed as a group. So I joined them. I was one of the earlier members, and since that time we have been trying to let our people know exactly the importance of having a government, knowing our situation. We know that government can never talk to groups. They talk to governments. Therefore, the essence of forming Biafran government in exile was very, very important. And by the way, this government is a continuation of the government that lost the war in 1970. So it's a continuation to make sure that because vacuum is not allowed. So we didn't want to have any vacuum created somewhere there. So we said to have this government in exile to let our people know that Biafra was defeated, but not killed. We are still there. Trying to tell people what they have been doing, what we can do, and what we plan to do. It's been so difficult because our people, all of us know ourselves, the difficulty of getting somebody to lead others has been a problem in Igbo land. Our fathers had it. Ojukwu was successful because he had a government already running. He was a governor of a region. And therefore, when they wanted to kill us in our whole land, he said no, and continuity reigned. There was no problem. He has no difficulty setting up a government that made us alive today. In our own case now, it's so difficult because most of the people we are dealing with here are children born after the war. And when the war ended, most families were devastated. Nobody had anything. Most of the boys and girls are out this day ran out to look for something to keep their body and soul together. So when we are talking about them about Biafra, some of them don't even understand what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. But we have been really steady in trying to let them know exactly what we are trying to do. Now, when you ask me about what's the difference, well, the difference is that we are a government. We are not a group. And the difference being a government, we are it's like an umbrella. We are making sure that all the groups are under and collaborate, not under really, because when you use the word under, our people being what we are, there may be a lot of questions. But we want to get everybody together to work together with BGIE to give the directive. For that, we had the charter. The charter is like the constitution in brief to let us know exactly this Biafra we're talking about, how it is, how is it going to be. So with the charter alone, I think we have been able to show the difference of difference between Biafra government in exile, BGIE, and other groups. And by the way, these other groups came into effect because when Wazirike failed, when it was get derailed, we moved quickly to form Bilia. And when we formed Bilia, nobody knew what the meaning of Bilia. They didn't know that we meant Biafran liberation in exile. So people at home thought it was an Igbo word, Bilia. It was when the problems came in that people knew exactly what was the meaning of Bilia. But initially, it was a word, acronym, Bilia. But its real name was Biafra Liberation in Exile. We registered it at the UN office in Vienna. And our intention was going from country to country until all Biafrans in the diaspora and at home knew what we were doing. But unfortunately, when we got to London in 2004, our own lawyer, an Igbo man, whom we were paying, really stole all we had and then ran down home, and that the rest become history. I don't want to go there because if I start telling you the story now, it looks like I'm really getting back to the old stories. But this gave rise to Nnamdi Kanu and the rest of them, this singular act. Initially, it was one Biafran struggle under Wazirike. When Wazirike failed, we quickly moved into Bilia, but then this Bilia, people misconstrued what it was. From there, we came up to what we are doing today. So many other groups come out of it, and we are trying to manage it. It is difficult, like I said before. It's so difficult to manage a group of so many intellectuals with diverse ideas and opinions. Some are real, some are imaginary. Some came in to have their names noted. Others came in really with a passion for Biafra. So the Biafran government in exile this is exactly the difference, and this is exactly what we have been trying to do all this time to make sure that we get ourselves together. And if we're able to get ourselves together, we craft our last push for our freedom. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You've given us useful history, actually. I had a conversation with the Prime Minister a few weeks ago, and he mentioned the Biafran Charter. Hopefully, we'll talk about this at some point during this program. But you mentioned that BGIE is an umbrella, as a government in exile, is an umbrella under which a number of groups belong. Do you have a sense of how many groups belong to BGIE? You don't, I mean, maybe not exact number, but about how many do you?
No, I know the exact number because
okay.
I brokered it.
Okay.
Yeah, we are 19 other groups.
All right.
19 other groups that formed they were. I personally went home with my car, broke down my car, running 3 months at home alone.
Wow.
I had a holidays, so I decided to do that.
That's commitment.
And I did that, and we established what we call shadow government. This shadow government was a composition of 19 different other groups from the lower from the riverine areas and the upper land, as they call us. We were able to do that. Eventually, when we knew that we have made a base, what we need was now government in exile is far away, and we cannot be at home and think that be in Madrid, for example. Myself in Madrid, I thought I was going to know what was happening at MBC every day. Lie. So what we did was to form a provisional government. This provisional government was also dictated in the charter. The charter says the Biafran struggle should be organized this way. There should be a formal government, which you call provisional government of Biafra, which will be composed of the government at home and the government in exile. So we did that and formed this provisional government, which contained principally 19 groups with names and addresses. The only group that didn't sign into it was only the Masob of Wazirike and the IPOB of Nnamdi Kanu. All other groups are there with us. Well, Tony Nadi is of his lower Niger, so his case is very different. But others, we are together today working very hard.
Okay, this is wonderful. So from what I'm hearing right now, it seems to me that BGIE is expansive, and the focus is not primarily on the Igbo areas, in Nigeria. Am I correct to make that assumption?
That's a wonderful statement. It's not an assumption, it's correct.
Okay.
Because initially, if I tell you that this what you said now made me move a little bit apart from one of my best friends in this journey, ABM. I was talking with ABM every night for more than every year we were talking. But eventually, when ABM went on with his idea of trying to have Igbo Biafra alone, we disagreed. But I mean, we talk to each other as normal, but we don't have anything in common to talk again. So the Biafran government in exile is of the idea that Eastern Nigeria, which formed Biafra, was a block. Therefore, our intention is to do everything possible to have Biafra as Eastern Nigeria. If
Okay.
after getting it, 24 hours after getting it, and somebody say, "Hey, I don't want to be here," by all means, we give you a chance to do what you would like to do with your group and your country and whatever you call yourself. But our intention is to arrive at this goal as our fathers started it at home. We went to war together, even though we don't want to go into the history of the war because most of them derailed during the war, but we understand why it happened. So our intention is to make sure that all of us move in and have our Biafra. Once we get our Biafra, who is there, who is not there becomes a very minor question.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm glad that you talked about ABM because he was also on the program a while ago.
Okay,
And you're
okay.
correct that, there is a sort of ideological difference in terms of, what the goal might be, whether it's, Igbo land or, Biafra,
Biafra,
which is much more expansive.
exactly.
Nevertheless, I think you both also agree that the people, Igbos or Biafrans have been subjugated or have not been treated, well by the current, Nigerian federal government of Nigeria. So it seems to me that you still have something in common. Let's take a short break. This is BCB. This is Rosama. We return to our interview. You have mentioned ABM's focus, but there are also people who are currently calling for a referendum. IPOB has its own focus, MASOB has its own focus, and you've mentioned them here. There are people who are calling for a referendum on Nigeria right now. So what is your opinion on this? And does BGIE see a referendum as a viable option at this point? And then, of course, I don't want to load you with questions. The other part is, of course, is what would a referendum mean at this point in light of the current struggle to restore Biafra, but also in light of the ongoing hostilities towards people, towards communities in Biafra, and especially around central Igbo land. I want to recall the things that happened in Olu recently and much more recently in Imo State, particularly around Owerri and Mbise, which you mentioned.
Yes. Well, my dear sister, this. If I said this, the crux of the matter, I wouldn't be mistaken, because the understanding of what Biafra is all about lies here. We are not doing anything to jeopardize anybody's interest. Rather, we are bent on liberating ourselves. So the struggle is a liberation struggle. And in this struggle, it is better to understand exactly what is involved in the struggle. Sometimes IPOB will say Biafra or death. I seem to agree with them. Because if for one reason we stop doing what we are doing now, we are finished. The killing of Biafrans started 1945, a couple of years after the amalgamation. So it's nothing new. And therefore, if we have any reason, if we have chance of defending ourselves, by all means, we are going to do it. We don't want to be violent. BJI as a government is a non-violent group. But then it is only, as I said in Igbo land, it's only a tree that knows it's going to be cut down and stays there. A human will run for his dear life. So what is happening around our home today, especially what happened around Orlo, I don't know how to explain it because it has no explanation. Government of Biafra is so high-handed on Igbos, particularly. Let me use the word Igbo now. Normally, in this struggle, I use the word Biafra.
You mean the government of Nigeria?
I mean the government of Nigeria.
Okay, I just wanted
so
to
high-handed in this aspect, because if actually if they have not planned our extermination process, what happened at Orlo could have been handled by police action or civil action. But what they did was that they moved in the troops at Owerri to come in, and knowing that this will, nobody protects them. When you go there, you kill them like animals. Nobody talks. They went into Orlo. Then they pulled out the troops and went to Orlo. Unfortunately, the boys at home were able to defend themselves. And I think when you are defending yourself, any arm is for me. Self-defense allows me to do all I want to do to make sure I'm alive tomorrow. When we were in the army, we were told that a soldier who is a soldier is the one that goes to the front and come back to tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't come back, nobody knows you again. You're no longer a story. You're no longer a soldier. It's when you go and come back, then you're a soldier telling the stories of what happened at the war front. So what the Nigerian government is doing with us is beyond comprehension, because we don't know why the sin we committed is that we want to be apart a little bit. The marriage is not functioning. Like I said initially, they have started killing us since 1945, a couple of years after amalgamation. How long will they kill us? How many are we? Must we wait until they finish all of us? Must we wait until the tribe or the generation is finished? No, we cannot do that. We are going to do everything possible, including running away from them. Let us be cowards. We don't care, but let us be alive. So the story is that we are so vexed. These people are treating us so badly. But the reason why they're doing that is what we don't understand. And then looking at it amongst ourselves, it is very incomprehensible that in Igbo land, there are people, despite what is happening to us, they don't understand what is happening to us. Do they want to wait until all of us die? And when all of us die, who is then Igbo left? The race is finished. So if any Igbo man or woman in authority or not in authority is there at the fence, thinking that the person we call enemy is going to spare him or her, that is illusion. It's not going to happen. They have come to kill, and kill they must. So our utmost in BGI is to do everything possible to protect our people. Want them to be wary of danger. Don't be a brave man, but be a wise man. Make sure that you all every time you are I wouldn't say, because if I use the word political correctness, that is wrong, because in the jungle nobody has a friend. But in our case with Nigeria, for them they think that the Igbo is a game. They go in and they put the ducks, they excite the animals, they run out, food, they gun them down. That is the situation. So I'm calling on also our governors, our allies, our leaders. Let them really understand this, that once an enemy is an enemy, when they start killing you, they will stop. And when they are killing your brothers, don't ever think they will spare you. Because when they finish killing your brothers, you are the next. If anybody thinks that after killing these younger youths who are working, they will leave the old ones. They are making mistakes. They don't know probably most of them have not read history to know that when it starts, it is continuous. And this is all I can say here. Our people have been boxed a corner, and we have to rebound.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what it has to be. We have to rebound because if we don't, the rest is finished.
Okay. So from what I'm hearing, from you, based on what I'm hearing from you right now, it seems to me that you are not supportive, or at least you don't see a referendum, as all these other groups are calling, an option.
No, I have a theory about the referendum or no referendum. Now, listen, if you define the referendum, this is the opinion of all people within the geospace that is called Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
They won't allow the Igbos to have in referendum in Nigeria. We have failed without starting.
Mm-hmm.
But I am pleading for what I call plebiscite, because in plebiscite, this this questionnaire is going to be limited within the people who find themselves in the confine of Biafra.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in plebiscite, yes, let them ask people of Biafra what they need, and they will get the true statement. I am campaigning for this because remember the disengagement of Western Cameroon from Eastern Nigeria.
Yes, yes,
They
yes.
had a plebiscite. It worked. Remember the creation of Midwestern state of Nigeria with Osadebe? It
Mm-hmm.
was a plebiscite. It
Mm-hmm.
worked. If you ask anybody now to do referendum in Nigeria, there'll be no election, but the results will be there as they do their things.
Mm-hmm.
It's a corrupt part of the world. And therefore, it is going to, when they tell us we have won the election, they will tell you, oh, okay, it happened in Scotland. They didn't win and they kept quiet. But then the difference is that in Scotland, there was election. But in Nigeria, I tell you, by Jove, there will be no election. So what personally and some of us in BGI we are campaigning for is plebiscite.
Mm-hmm.
Give us the plebiscite so that everybody in Biafra will say his or her opinion freely. Nobody's going to force you. You say this in plebiscite, we fail to get our freedom. By means, I'll be the first to go back to Nigeria.
Okay.
But if we fail to do that, if we start thinking of referendum, I'm going to be opposed to referendum until it's not heard, because holding referendum is pure waste of time. It
Mm-hmm.
is not going to work out because they already fixed it as they fix their things in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
But if
Mm-hmm.
they give us plebiscite, it is only for the region or the area you call Biafra. They can police us with the United Nations and everywhere in the world to make sure that it's done correctly. The result, we are going to take it. But if it is referendum, no. We won't allow referendum because it's a waste of our time.
Okay,
Yep.
fair enough. But just bear in mind that you also said, that our people, a lot of our people, some of our people have no sense of what, this struggle is all about. They have no sense of history, no
Yes.
sense of what the struggle is all about, no sense of commitment also to, some of these issues, because they're focused on on themselves.
Mhm.
So, so I wonder how a plebiscite that would include some of these people would actually, work, especially where, say, for instance, in the case of Imo State, a properly elected governor was removed by, interestingly, the Supreme Court of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and replaced with somebody whose name apparently didn't even appear or figure anywhere on the ballot. Yes.
Exactly. We know that. Yes.
So now you have I don't know what you want to call him, a stooge in the State House of Imo State, parading as, the governor of Imo State, which explains why the place is in chaos.
Of course, yes.
So I don't know, how would a plebiscite work in the face of such corruption, such structural dysfunction? I am, so.
Yeah, let me try to explain why it should work.
Okay.
Now, the plebiscite is going to work because it is all house alone. Remember that in these elections, you are not required to have 100% pass mark.
Yes.
You are going to have a 50 plus 1%. Once you have 51%, you have passed. And I'm telling you with all sincerity that in Biafra land, a plebiscite gives us 50 point plus 1. We are not going to fail it.
Okay.
Because we know that many of our people are really against, no, not against Biafra, but they're ignorant about what Biafra is all about.
Mhm.
So they are not committed. I use the word not committed, no commission. But if we give us plebiscite, it becomes a function of of Eastern Nigeria alone. And we're talking about the percentage of this up to 70 million people. If we get even 30 million, we have if we get the major 50 plus 1, that's all we need. And I bet you we are going to make it. But if we talk about Nigeria, we won't get 20 plus 1. It's impossible. Because you mentioned what happened at Owerri. That tells you exactly what they can do with us.
Yes.
And the more glaring story that is that this man that did this came from BC, where we have the greatest number of PhDs in Igbo land, the greatest number of intellectuals we have, and not even one of them got up to say something. They kept quiet. Are you keeping quiet that you're going to die 2 times? Ihedioha was robbed, and nobody from BC spoke a word. It's a shame.
Well, it is scandalous. It's a shame.
It's a shame.
Yes.
that from BC of all people whom we are proud of, everybody kept quiet. We are finished with referendum. It's all over. Let them give us plebiscite, and I bet you, if we fail in the plebiscite, we go back to Nigeria.
Okay.
Yep.
Fair enough. All right, you have spoken, and hopefully they are listening to you. And
I hope so.
Let's hope that that's where we will go.
I am Ugunnaya Awele, bringing you a program on Our Destination is Biafra. Where are you going to? Is a question we hear thrown at us by people we meet along the way. Our words in answer may portray an inherent intent, yes, but it is only our actions that determine whether we reach our destinations. I am talking to our youths today. There is this plastics that world leaders have, known as the State of the Nation Address. In many nations of the world, this very ritual is an annual event when the president or the prime minister takes the center stage in more ways than one. He or she goes to a joint section of both houses of parliament to deliver a speech. In this speech, the leader presents his report card, which at the turning point shows how the country is performing under his or her leadership. The leader in the State of the Nation address is expected to outline how he or she had piloted the affairs of the nation for that year or through a defined period. This speech includes every important aspect of national life that had need of attention and what was done or is being done to make national life a success for all citizens. It includes administration, economy, education, health, commerce and industry, foreign affairs, security, and others. The address does not have a question and answer session So the leader is not burdened with thinking of how to face the media. He only presents to his people his policies and what had been done or will be done to alleviate their problems and carry them along in his administration. Well, I believe we are overdue for a State of the Nation address. Buhari had completed his first term in office and is halfway through his second term in office. In all these years, many reports have been made, projected and circulated both from the local and international media of the work of international organizations or state departments. A lot have happened too, and there is need for Buhari to present a report card to Nigeria. I will draw from those records and historical data to present to us all the state of the nation under President Muhammadu Buhari. This report will also rely on data produced by this very administration, and then we will call up data from two former administrations of Eastern region in order to understand the state of the nation at present. The National Bureau of Statistics reported that between January 2016 and 30th of September 2017, 8 million people lost their jobs in Nigeria. Between 2015 and May 2017, youth unemployment climbed from 13.7% to 33.1%, and from 40.8% in January of 2020 to 53.4% by January of 2021. This means that out of 100 youth who are able and ready to work, regardless of the skills they possess, 54 of them cannot have a job presently. Inflation rate stood at 18.12% in April 2021. We know that popular global economic reviews almost always stop at the contribution of crude oil and natural gas to the country's economy. What we may not know is that this is a calculated denial by the government and international economic bodies to discuss, acknowledge, or encourage attention to the other sectors of Nigerian economy by the Nigerian populace. I mean, there is a clear conspiracy between the governing clique and the international bodies that do business with Nigeria, and this has been ongoing before 1960. Once economic details states 80 to 95% of Nigeria international earner is oil, there is an automatic discount of the other sectors into a broad category known as others, giving the idea that their contributions are negligible or not important to be mentioned at all. In the solid mineral industry, some minerals that are being mined in Nigeria include gold, lead oxide, iron ore, and about 44 other natural mineral occurrences. A number of these minerals, example, nickel, bitumen, iron ore, and coal, are estimated to exist in commercial quantities. Meanwhile, there is a 53.4% unemployment rate in the country as we speak. In the area of tourism, this nation has a very vast and rich cultural heritage, which should have been strategically repositioned to partner tourism as a driver to lift the Nigerian economy. Harvest festivals performed in different ways in different regions and different times in Nigeria. Fishing festivals, cultural sites, carnivals, museums, interesting archaeological sites and natural wonders. Development of rivers as transport waterways, ocean cruise, tours, hotels, forest trades, arts and crafts. Important sporting events could be commissioned into helping to provide much needed boost to the economy and create employment for the teeming youths of this country. Instead, the Buhari administration brought in terrorists and bandits and cowherders and guns and started promoting the displacement of indigenous people. Agriculture. Nigeria is a powerhouse for food production and cash crop production. Food crops like cassava, tomato, onions, cucumber, yams, plantains, banana, maize, rice, and other grains. Cash crops like cashew, groundnut, cocoa, oil palm, cotton, jute, among others. We are a major food production nation in West Africa. But when you have used bandits and herdsmen to destroy farms and farming communities, when you have committed your farming communities to internally displaced people camps, where will the food for the nation come from before we talk of exports? Education and health. Our youths now go to Ghana for education, especially those who have been marked for assassination by the Nigerian security outfit. The health sector is comatose. As far as Buhari is concerned, as president of Nigeria, this nation could as well die because he considers that the Fulani are not talented enough to engage in almost all sectors of the economy except looting, banditry, terrorism, and cattle rearing. So those are the only sectors of the economy he is interested in. I mean looting, banditry, terrorism, cattle herding, lies, and corruption. Under Buhari, Fulani must be aided to kill and rape and burn and displace all other indigenous groups. Under Buhari, they must be left in peace to practice their kidnapping for ransom trade, allowed to pillage farms and carry their crops, their cows, wherever it pleases them to go without questions. Take over indigenous people's towns and villages, summarily execute them, take over their houses and communities, and rename these villages, and so on. The Chandler Good Government Index, CGGI, ranks countries according to the government's capabilities and effectiveness. Out of 104 countries surveyed, Nigeria ranked 102. Only Zimbabwe and Venezuela performed worse. Nigeria is the third worst nation in the world. Imagine that. The aspects used for this analysis are leadership and foresight, robust laws and policies, strong institutions, financial stewardship, attractive marketplace, global influence and reputation, and helping people rise out of poverty. The United Nations Human Development Index for 2020 puts Nigeria at 168th position out of 173 countries. The World Bank ranked Nigeria the 6th worst country in its 2020 Human Capital Index. Human Capital Index refers to amount of human capital that a child born today can expect to attain by age 18, given the risks of poor health and poor education that prevent in the country where he or she lives. In other words, the question asks, what are the chances that a child born in Nigeria today can grow up to acquire needed skills to benefit his or her country in 18 years from today? The Human Capital Index is measured from present circumstances at the time of analysis. The result of the UN Human Capital Index presently says that a child born in Nigeria today has a 0 chance of successful growth, health, education, and training to attain her potential and become useful to Nigeria. For your information, Niger is ranked 173 out of 173. So Buhari is dragging us down to join Niger, Chad at 172, Mali at 171, and South Sudan at 170 as the worst nations that have no plans for their future. I will now present to you from historical data the stewardship of Mazi Michael Ihonokara Opara. I am doing this to bring to the front the value which you and I place on people we consider as our leaders. Not all of them are leaders. Through time, many aspiring leaders had been influenced and compromised by the situation of Nigeria. Nigeria is an evil rot, a virus which infects and destroys the mind of all those who have poor principles and integrity. Therefore, we must be able to make a choice and accept leaders who cannot be bought or compromised. Mazi Ihionokara Okpara was the premier of Eastern Region from 1959 to 1966. Wikipedia says that at 39, he was the youngest premier of Nigeria. He was a strong advocate of what he called pragmatic socialism and believed that agricultural reform was crucial to the ultimate success of Nigeria. He set for himself a mission to help, improve, develop, and justify the trust the people has placed in him, and he was elected into government. Let us see some of his track record in the 4 years and 6 months he was in power. For sheer expediency and because his track records are not in dispute, I shall list some of these institutions established by Emma Okpara when he was a premier. Francis Akaniben was the governor of Eastern Nigeria, Eastern Region. He had established the Eastern Nigerian Development Corporation as a vessel to carry out his vision of economic transformation of Eastern Nigeria. They went on to radically push the region into becoming the fastest developing region in the world. From 1962 to 1968, M.I. Okpara set up farm settlements across Eastern region. 2 types of farm settlements were established: cash crop estates, each incorporating processing centers in preparation for an export market, and secondly, food cross farm settlement for local crop production, food crop production. These settlements were established at Olonnam in Umuahia, Ohaji, Uguta, Igbariam, Onitsha, Boki, Ogoja, Uzowani, Enugu, Abak, and Nam. Each of these farm settlements were to accommodate 5,000 farmers who were expected to gain full self-sufficiency in 5 years of the project. Today, Malaysian farm settlements under the Federal Land Development Authority is responsible for palm oil, rubber production, and other cash crops and food crops production across the nation. Feeds the people and have placed the nation at the top in the production of palm oil and rubber in the world for decades. But the Malaysian system was modeled after the Eastern Nigerian system and actually received technical assistance and seed sets from the National Institute for Oil Palm Research, NIFE for Benin. So what happened? Nigeria happened to those Eastern region farm settlements. 3. Michelin factory for tire production, Port Harcourt. Universal Insurance Company with operations across the nation. Nigeria Gas Factory, Emene, Enugu. Aluminium Factory, Port Harcourt. Glass Factory, Port Harcourt. Asbestos Cement Factory, Emene, Enugu. Central Bank, Port Harcourt. Goni Guinea Breweries, Umuahia. Presidential Hotel, Port Harcourt. Nkalago Cement Factory. Modern Ceramics Industries, Umuahia. Textile Mills, Aba. Textile Mills, Onitsha. Shoe Factory, Owerri. University of Nigeria, Nsukka. In order to do this, Okpara delegated the day-to-day running of the political party to Dr. L.C. Mbanugo, civil service to Sam Oti, intelligentsia to Professor Carlo Ezra, and economy to Mazi Odumegwu Ojukwu Sr., thus creating a mini cabinet, as it were, beyond the formal structures of the party and bureaucracy. He directly exercised an inspiring overview to the business of government through the formal structures of governance. He did this because he wanted his work in uplifting the region to be done. He wanted to create jobs for the new leaders and the educated class and the entire population of Eastern Nigeria, Eastern region. He spread those establishments around the entire region without any trace of nepotism or cronyism, because he believed every citizen of the region is equally entitled to every available opportunity. M.I. Okpara was a true statesman. Chief Samuel Ononaka Mbakwe, De Sam, as he was fondly called, was sworn in by as the governor of Imo State on Monday 1st October 1979. It was a 4-year tenure. The Imo State that De Sam Mbakwe governed was composed of the present Imo State, Abia State, and Afikpo geographical areas of Ebonyi State, known as the Ebonyi South Senatorial District. It was indeed a very large state. The challenge he faced was to redevelop this territory that had been ravaged by the Nigerian Biafran War. Remember that this was at a time when the impoverishment policy of seizing all monies owned by Igbos in exchange for 20 naira was still hurting the people. There were also several other policies that Igbos would only become aware of as time went on, especially with respect to glass ceilings, enhanced quota that totally discriminated against Igbo. He did not let any of these problems distract him. Sam Mbakwe started an aggressive road infrastructure in Aba, Owerri, Umuahia, Okigwe, Afikpo, and to Asa local government areas, which he had created. He linked all these towns together with an excellent road network. Mbakwe then turned his attention to agriculture, education, tourism, aviation, and industrialization of the state. He established 2 gigantic farms, Imo Modern Poultry Farm at Avutu in Obo and Ogwe Golden Chicken Project in Asa. He established the Imo State University, designed to be a multi-campus university with each senatorial district having a major college or faculty of the university. He built a 5-star hotel, Concord Hotel in Owerri. It was the best hotel east of the Niger. Enyimba Hotel at Aba was under construction at the time of Buhari's coup d'etat. He built an airport at Owerri, known today as Sam Mbakwe Airport. Till today, this is still the only airport built with financial contribution by the people, ordinary people of the state. On industrialization, Mbakwe established aluminium smelter plant in Inyishi, a paint factory at Abombise, a power plant at Amarako. And all this time, Samuel Ononaka Mbakwe had continued to maintain and support all the existing companies set up by M.I. Okpara before the war. Mbakwe, like Okpara, spread development schemes and projects equally into all areas of the states he governed. This was not an aberration at all, for Igbo culture seeks to involve every member of his society in the activities of the society, right from decision making to carrying out those decisions and in the enjoyment of the dividends therefrom. Traditional Igbo societies viewed all its members as equal. In fact, the rot that took over Nigeria, even though then as undertones, since everyone initially worked to make Nigeria a success, set in when Muhammadu Buhari unceremoniously toppled the democratically elected government of Shehu Shagari. Like he is doing now, Buhari brought down the nation to its knees with his wickedness and evil mind, so much that his lieutenants toppled his government due to what they perceived was a total disregard to law and order by Buhari. It was the prolonged period of military rule when the soldiers used the academia to devise policies for which they had no intention of carrying out. When they used the experts to milk Nigeria dry, setting in place a culture of might over thought, money in exchange for ready-made designs, schemes in exchange for truth, that the bastardization of Nigeria took national colors. The military is an organization that inculcates a culture of might is right. Only its administrative cadres delve into organization and strategy, but only in terms of achieving the ultimate goal to subdue and conquer. Soldiers are not taught or prepared for civil society engagement. There are no conditions for to engage his own people, their own people, with patience and time. We must realize that the army cannot understand the world as you see it. Now, when we have this in an embodiment of ethnic myopic tendencies of Buhari spanning decades, Nigeria was a keg of gunpowder ready to explode, and it has. A popular adage says, whoever you surround yourself with informs who you are. When we listen to leaders who have no answers to our problem, that is all we get. No answers to our problems. There is this assertion that through these long periods of bad leadership, Nigeria have developed an age of people taught and socialized in the language of irresponsibility, which have been translated into unfeeling, irresponsible, and corrupt class of people amongst us, leading a people who respond only to excitement of their eyes and not the mind. Assuming I wish to go to the stream to fetch water, and I pick up my bucket or water can and embark on my journey. I walk from my house to the village square and turn left towards the market square. I spend 10 minutes walking to the market. Then my friend Chukas asks me, Ugonna, where are you going? And I reply, I am going to fetch water from the stream. After spending 30 minutes chatting with him, I leave and start in the direction of the forest, still holding my empty water container with me. On the way, I meet my friend Amaka. She is returning from the farm, carrying a load of firewood on her head. We chat for a while, and I tell her that I need to keep going since I am going to the stream to fetch some water. Then I continue on the journey. I pass through 3 farm fields and come out to Isialangwa. All this while, I have been telling myself and anyone who cares to listen that I am on an errand to fetch water for my use. Yet the roads I had taken will never lead me to any stream in our village or any river or any water bodies whatsoever. I have traveled far through 4 villages along the way, and I'm still holding my empty water container with me. Nigerians are all carrying empty water cans. We are telling the world that we are on a journey to fetch water we need for our use, but we are carefully, intentionally making sure in every way that we will never pass through any streams, any rivers on our endless self-defeating journey. We will never amount to anything unless we take the only road through which we will definitely move to a set purpose in life, to our own nation states. Our destination is Biafra. Ugonna Awele. Thank you.
This is BCB News Compilation.
Ndewonu umunna. My name is Ugonna Awele of the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra. News today. Twitter ban. The Court of Justice of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has restrained the Nigerian government from unlawfully prosecuting people for using Twitter, while it is considering a legal action launched by activists and journalists seeking to reverse a government ban on the use of Twitter. Nigeria had in June indefinitely suspended Twitter 2 days after the platform removed a post from President Muhammadu Buhari that threatened war against Biafran agitators, and which Twitter said violated its rules. The Nigerian Attorney General further said that those who defied the ban should be prosecuted, but did not provide any detail as to which law would be invoked in any such prosecution. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, a local rights group, along with 176 other Nigerians, went to ECOWAS Regional Court to fight the ban. On Tuesday, a statement of the ECOWAS Court of Justice was released, saying that it was restraining the government from acting against citizens or media outlets over the use of Twitter, pending a substantive ruling on the core issues. The report F. Kennedy Human Rights Organization is among the first of many world agencies and governments that had welcomed the ECOWAS court ruling. It urged the government of Nigeria to abide by the decision of the ECOWAS court and take steps to relax restrictions on citizens' access to social media in Nigeria and respect the right of Nigerians to free expression online and offline. In a related news, the United States Secretary of State condemns Twitter ban in Nigeria. The United States Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has lashed out at the federal government and Muhammadu Buhari over the suspension of Twitter operations in Nigeria. He said restrictions of social media use has no place in a democracy. In a statement on Thursday signed by Blinken's spokesman Ned Price titled Nigeria's Twitter Suspension, Blinken condemned the suspension of Twitter. The United States, he said, condemns the ongoing suspension of Twitter by the Nigerian government and subsequent threat to arrest and prosecute Nigerians who use Twitter. The United States is likewise concerned that the Nigerian National Broadcasting Commission has ordered all television and radio stations to cease using Twitter, unquote. He therefore called on the government to respect the citizen right to freedom of expression by reversing Twitter suspension. Biafran agitation. A coalition of Northern Group, CNG, on Thursday filed an interlocutory junction at the Federal High Court of Abuja, asking the court to stop the ongoing constitutional amendment and provide a framework for the Southeast to secede from Nigeria. Joined in the suit as defendants are the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, President of the Senate, Speaker House of Representatives, and the National Assembly, with members of the CNG as plaintiffs. In the originating summons with suit number FHC/ABJ/CS/538/2021, the plaintiffs prayed for the defendants within 30 days after service of this summons on them, inclusive of the day of such service, cause an appearance to be entered for them to the summons. The plaintiffs sought the court to determine whether by combined effect of the provisions of the Section 4 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, and Articles 1, 2, and 20, subsection 1 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, Ratification and Enforcement Act 2004, the fourth defendant, the National Assembly, is empowered to set in motion a framework for a referendum to allow the southern states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to decide on their bid for self-determination. The plaintiffs therefore urge the court to grant its claim in the interest of justice and in order to forestall any further loss of lives and property as a result of the agitation for an independent state of Biafra. Nigeria government only for its politicians. The global rights group Amnesty International has accused the federal government of Nigeria of making regulations to protect politicians and their cronies instead of making policies and regulations that protect human rights, including free speech and press freedom. The director of Amnesty International in Nigeria, Dr. Osai Ojigo, spoke on Wednesday when she was featured in a Punch online interview program, The Roundtable. The Amnesty official said the government's excuse that Twitter allows offensive voices to ventilate hate speech is not justifiable as the social media platform has its own community rules, which it had been sticking to. Ojiho also faulted the comparison made by the information minister that Nigeria is following the footsteps of China in terms of media restrictions. She had condemned the actions of the regime of Muhammadu Buhari for suspending the social media platform. Twitter, as well as other government attempts to muzzle press freedom. Many right groups have since accused the Buhari regime for tacitly resurrecting the infamous Decree 4 of 1984, which banned free speech. But the ruling All Progressive Congress seemed unfazed and determined to stifle the freedom of expression. She said that it was ironic that as a country, Nigeria is now being compared with countries like China and North Korea. But in terms of being a free country, in terms of countries that respect human rights, it is a new low for Nigeria to be compared in this aspect. The Amnesty official further stressed that rather than ban social interaction platforms like Twitter, the government should make laws to protect free speech and expose peddlers of fake news and divisive statements. Other news items. The PDP accuses Buhari of cluelessness. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, has said Muhammad Buhari exposed his cluelessness during his interview on Arise Television. The PDP insisted that Buhari exposed his paucity of ideas on how to develop and unite Nigeria during the interview. In a series of twists, it noted that some of the president's comments are capable of encouraging terrorism and further creating violence and division in the country. PDP lamented that Buhari has lost an opportunity to enlighten Nigerians on the works of his administration by laying claims to projects of former administrations. He said, and I quote, "Our party is dismayed that while millions of Nigerians eagerly expected President Buhari to use the interview to address salient issues confronting our nation, Mr. President bungled the opportunity by being evasive and dodgy while attempting to lay claims to projects done by PDP administration. Instead of addressing issues and providing direction for our nation, President Buhari exposed his cluelessness, paucity of ideas for development, while making very provocative comments that will embolden terrorists as well as serve as a recipe for further division and violence in the country," unquote. There seemed, however, to be a general denial in the country of the real state of the person of the current president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He does not meet the press. He makes only pre-recorded addresses to the nation. All his assertions and convictions are totally out of touch with the current situation of insecurity, rise of many terrorist groups in the country, inflation, rot in educational and health institutions, unemployment, and absence of governance in Nigeria. 136 school children kidnapped in Niger State still missing. The House of Representatives has called on the Federal Republic of Nigeria to help Niger State government to secure the release of the 136 students of Salihu Tanko Islamic School, Tegina, who were adopted on May 30th, 2021. They also called on the federal government to provide security in Nigeria. The House wondered why security agencies cannot deploy aircrafts and drones to hotbeds of crimes in the country, especially in Niger State. This follows a motion unanimously adopted by the lawmakers at the plenary on Thursday, and which was sponsored by House members from the state. The Niger lawmakers lamented that 3 weeks after the abduction, the children were still in captivity. They listed gruesome torturing and killing of innocent lives, destroying critical infrastructures and property, cutting away foodstuffs, rustling cattle and domestic animals, and instilling fears, tensions, and anxieties in the minds of people across the state and the country as evidence of a failing government. The House warned that the aftermath of what is happening in the country is aggravation of food insecurity and threats to the peaceful coexistence and socio-economic stability of the country. In the last few days, a prince from Kontagora Emirate and others were killed. About 5 people were abducted from Batati in Lavun local government area. Serial abductions of innocent people from Suleja local government area were reported. The bandits were seen operating along Zungeru, Tegina, and Kontagora axis of Niger State for days and nights without resistance. Yoruba Nation agitators hold peaceful rallies across the southwest region. Some Yoruba Nation agitators and youths joined June 12 protests in Abeokuta, Ijebode, and other parts of Ogun State armed with placards bearing various inscriptions, including hashtag Buhari must go and hashtag Yoruba Nation now, among others. Speaking in Abeokuta, the state coordinator of Oduduwa Nation, Sola Kobodoku, said the protest was meant to intimate the world that Yorubas are ready for their own nation. She says, "We are here for a peaceful protest to let the whole world know that we, Yorubas in the country called Nigeria, are ready for freedom. We are ready to self-determine our lives, what we do, how we do it, and where we do it. This is a rally without fight, without war, without killing, and without any atrocities," unquote. Another Yoruba Nation agitator, Aziz Suleiman, said, "We are here today to let everybody throughout the world know that Yoruba is a nation created by Almighty God. All our resources should not be taken away from us. The Yorubas are being treated like slaves in their fatherland, which is not supposed to be." In another development, Are Osibote, the president of Oduduwa People's Congress, OPC, a Yoruba nationalist organization, says he cannot fall agitations of popular Yoruba activist Sunday Adeyemo Igboho. He said this on Tuesday in an Arise news program, The Morning Show. Sunday Igboho had staged protests in 5 of Nigeria's southwestern states and plans a Lagos rally for June 3rd. He had consistently called for a separate Yoruba nation and expressed anger over the continuous killing and kidnapping of Yoruba people by killer herdsmen in recent times. Mr. Osibote, however, warned that the price for separation could be very costly unless the Yoruba nation closes ranks and works with like-minded people for a complete peaceful separation. Need for good governance. The former military governor of Kaduna State, Colonel Abubakar Dangiwa Omar, has written a strongly worded open letter to Muhammadu Buhari, alleging that the skewed appointments made by the president will bring ruin and destruction to Nigeria. In the letter titled, "Mr. President, please belong to all of us," Omar stated that Nigeria has become dangerously polarized and risks sliding into crisis on account of Buhari's lopsided appointment. Dangiwa Omar accused Muhammad Buhari of giving undue preference to some sections of the country over others in his appointment. Colonel Omar wrote the letter in reaction to the celebration of the president's 5th year in office. The letter, dated 31st May 2020, read in part, "All those who wish." The former aviation minister, Femi Fani-Kayode, on Wednesday called on the President Muhammad Buhari-led federal government to stop encouraging the activities of terrorists. Fani-Kayode made the remark while insisting that the presidency was wrong on the issue of grazing. He pointed out that herders had no right to intrude into people's farms with their cattle. Recall that the presidency had thrown its weight behind grazing reserve for herders. In a statement, the presidency has described the resolution of southern governors on open grazing as acts of politicking intended by its signatories to demonstrate power. Reacting, Fani-Kayode in a series of tweets wrote, "The presidency is wrong. No one has the right to bring his cows into my land to eat my crops and destroy my harvest in the name of freedom of movement. Your freedom of movement, inclination to bestiality, and unnatural love and affection for cows and donkeys does not give you the right to enter my land, come into my home, rape my wife, kill my children, steal my substance and treasure, take over my space, occupy my land, and take from me all that is dear to me, including my loved ones, family, ancestral land, and life. The Constitution does not give anyone the right, and neither should our government be supporting or encouraging the activities of murderers and barbaric terrorists who do nothing but steal, kill, and destroy." Spate of kidnapping across northern Nigeria. Gunmen on Thursday night invaded the Nuhu Bamali Polytechnic in Zaria local government area abducting 2 academic staff, 3 students, and killing 1 student while another was hurt and is receiving treatment in the hospital. It was reported that this happened around 11 p.m. on the 11th of June 2021. A student said that he heard gunshots but did not know what happened that night. According to him, it was in the morning that we got information that 2 academic staff were abducted. One Mr. Habila Nasai and Malam Adamu Shika. The wife and 2 children of Malam Ahmed Abdullahi were kidnapped but later released that morning. 3 unidentified students were also kidnapped. One of those kidnapped is Ahmed, a HND 2 statistics student. 2 students were shot by the gunmen. 1 died while the other is receiving treatment, he said. This is the second attack on the Polytechnic in 16 months. Bandits has also kidnapped students of Greenfield University and Federal College of Forestry Mechanization in the state in the recent past. Bandits has on the 17th of June released 11 women out of the 28 women abducted in the Kabode Kachia local government area of Kaduna State. The kidnappers has demanded 30 million naira as ransom, the community said. Sources say the kidnappers dragged the women out of their houses and zoomed off. One of them said they released 11 women after we paid 16 million naira ransom, but they are still demanding 17 million naira ransom before releasing the other 17 women. The management of the Polytechnic yesterday announced indefinite suspension of academic activities following the attack on it by suspected bandits, and that students had been directed to vacate the school immediately. Kidnapping incidents had been the order of the day in Kaduna State since a few months ago. 39 students of the School of Forestry, Afaka, were kidnapped but released after the parents paid an undisclosed amount of money in ransom. A week later, students of Greenfield University along Kaduna Abuja Road were kidnapped. Their parents said they paid 160 million naira, including buying 10 brand new motorcycles before their children were released. A chieftain of the People's Democratic Party in Jigawa State has regained his freedom from kidnappers after payment of ransom. Government kidnapped the 55-year-old PDP man Hamidan Abdul Shangel in Ringim local government area of Jigawa State. The kidnapping took place on Sunday night, 6th June, when armed bandits stormed Shengel village in Ringim local government at about 1:30 a.m., firing bullets into the air. Sources close to the victim disclosed that he regained his freedom Wednesday night after paying a ransom of 15 million naira to the criminals. In Ondo State, the kidnapped Deeper Life pastor regains his freedom. He said the hoodlums has earlier demanded a 50 million naira ransom from the family. Police spokesman ASP Lawan Shishu confirmed the release of the victim. He said the victim was released yesterday night along Rigim Gujungu Road. The Ekiti State Police Command has also said those kidnapped during the attack on a hotel at Ayetoro Ekiti, Ido Osi local government on Tuesday evening has been freed. The public relations officer of the command, ASP Sunday Abutu, said only 2 people were kidnapped during the attack, though it was widely speculated that 4 persons were abducted inside the hotel. The Amnesty International, Seun Bakare, has described the repercussions of increasing schools attack as huge. The recent abductions, he said, seen across different states in northern Nigeria tells us that the government is either unwilling or unable to secure schools and protect the right to education. Millions of children are now having to pay the price of government's failure to protect citizens from violence, Bakare said. Bandits last night attacked Kachia town in Kachia local government area of Kaduna State, killing an unspecified number of people and injuring others. A source reported that the bandits invaded Kachia around 10:15 p.m. and operated for almost 2 hours before the security agencies intervened to save the situation. The source said that the bandits did their operations around the Kachia market before the military intervened to bring the situation under control. Kachia community holds a military formation comprising the Nigerian Army and the Nigerian Navy, where they are receiving various training. The source revealed that the bandits targeted grains and other food items being offloaded at the market in preparation for a Friday market. Heavily armed bandits on Thursday struck in Binin Yauri under Yauri local government area of Kebbi State. According to a source, an undisclosed number of girls has been abducted. The bandits, who came in their numbers, had engaged the mobile police in a gun battle and overpowered the police. After the gun duel, the bandits broke into the school, which is a federal government college, Binin Yauri, where they took their time to select girls and make away with them to an undisclosed location. He added that no one was killed during the hours of hitch-free operation by the armed bandits, but a police officer was shot during the exchange of fire. As at the time of filing this report, the Deputy Superintendent of Police, Nafiu Abubakar, and the Kebbi State Police Command image maker ignored 3 calls made to their numbers. It is important to know that more than 1,500 students have been kidnapped from schools in Nigeria since December 2020. The authorities have blamed the race on armed groups who are looking for ransom. As a result, kidnapping school children for ransom have turned into something of a growth business in Nigeria. News about Africa. Kenneth Kaunda passes on. The chairperson of the African Union Commission, Musa Mahamat, had mourned the death of the first president of Zambia, Kenneth Kaunda, describing him as one of Africa's finest sons. Mahamat disclosed this in a statement released on Thursday. Kenneth Kaunda was Zambia's founding father and ruled for 27 years from 1964 after the country gained independence from Britain. The statement read, "It is with an indescribable sense of loss that the chairperson of the African Union Commission, Musa Faki Mahamat, learned of the passing of His Excellency Kenneth Kaunda, the first president of the Republic of Zambia and one of the founding fathers of the Organization of African Unity." Kaunda was 97 years old. He embodied the true sense of Pan-Africanism, placing his own country, Zambia, at grave risks in order to provide safe harbor for the liberation movements of the Southern Africans as well as its peoples. His championing of the frontline states to defeat apartheid and white minority rule in Southern Africa laid the foundation for what we call regional integration today. The African Union stands in solidarity with the Kaunda family, the people and the government of the Republic of Zambia as we mourn and honor the life of a freedom fighter, statesman, visionary, and liberation struggle icon. Many world leaders also sent messages of condolence to Zambia at the passing of Kenneth Kaunda. United Kingdom Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab also sent his government's condolence on the passing of Kenneth Kaunda. In a release, he said Kaunda was a defining figure in Zambia's independence movement and laid the successful foundation of the Southern African nation through its leadership vision. Many other nations, including United States of America, have expressed their condolences to Zambia and Africa as a whole. Anwar Ibrahim, the Malaysian opposition leader, also in a Facebook post, remembered Kaunda as a key African independence hero who resisted the injustices of European colonial rule. It must be recalled that Kaunda supported independence for all African nations and gave sanctuary to all Southern African independence movements from Zambia to South Africa, even supporting armed resistance. Kaunda was among the African leaders that recognized the right for Biafran nations to exist, condemning the proxy genocide of Britain against Biafra in the 1966-1970 war. Today we remember Kenneth Kaunda as a man of principle who united his country and fought tooth and nail to bring development, education, healthcare, and freedom to his nation. He was one of the founding fathers of the Organization of African Unity, which is now known as AU. Kenneth Kaunda was among the elites of Africa who saw the Europeans for what they are and stood against them. Kaunda refused to be used against his own people and his African brothers. His book, Zambia Shall Be Free, an autobiography and accounts of the struggle to freedom, was described as, quote, bringing out very clearly the consistency of purpose behind the political development of an African nationalist leader, unquote. The Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra sends out our heartfelt condolences to Kenneth Kaunda's family, the people of Zambia, and the entire African continent. Kaunda was from an age that men stood their grounds against colonial atrocities and attempts to enslave Africa using proxies. It is sad to say that many present African leaders have not learned from history well and have allowed themselves to be used to impoverish, enslave, and bastardize their own nations. We believe and hope that new leaders are emerging who have the courage and sense of purpose that Kaunda had. Rest in peace, Baba Kenneth Kaunda. Thank you. I remain your friend and brother, Ugonnaya Awele, Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra.
This is Rose Ama. This is BCB. We end this program with a special report on Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. On Tuesday, June 29th, 2021, the Attorney General and Justice Minister of Nigeria, Abubakar Malami, announced through the state news channel NTA that Nnamdi Kanu had been detained on June 27th and, quote, brought back, unquote, to Nigeria. Malami did not specify from where or how. However, he added that Kanu had, quote, been intercepted through the collaborative efforts of the Nigerian intelligence and security services, unquote. According to Malami, Nnamdi Kanu is being held in the capital, Abuja, to face trial. Although Kanu appeared in court, his case was adjourned until July 26th and 27th. To date, the Nigerian government has maintained a cloak of secrecy over Kanu's status. According to Reuters London, quote, Britain has asked Nigeria to explain where and how Nnamdi Kanu, a separatist leader who holds British citizenship, was arrested after Kanu's lawyer alleged he had been detained and mistreated in Kenya before being sent back to Nigeria, unquote. The Nigerian authorities, however, have refused to indicate where Kanu was arrested, while the Kenyan government has denied any involvement. But in a video now available on YouTube, Kanu's lawyer, Barrister Ifeanyi Ejiofor, in an interview with Arise News, claims that, quote, there was a clear collaboration between the Kenyan government and the Nigerian government, unquote. He goes further to elaborate on the treatment of Kanu during his abduction. He states, quote, Nnamdi Kanu was subjected to inhuman treatment, unquote, adding that he was, quote, tortured, maltreated, and mercilessly beaten, unquote, before he was handed over to the Nigerian authorities, who inflicted him with severe injuries as a result of his handcuffing, leaving him with a number of ongoing medical issues. In an interview with BBC Pidgin Exclusive, Barrister Aloy Ejimako, special counsel to Nnamdi Kanu, confirms Barrister Ifeanyi Ejiofor's claims that Kanu had been tortured and maltreated during his abduction and incarceration. Barrister Ejimako claims to have noticed visible injuries on Kanu's right wrist, a result of the latter's chaining by the security people. While our task here at BCB is not to discuss Kanu's case, we are, however, concerned by Kanu's treatment in the hands of Nigerian security apparatus, as reported by his lawyer and special counsel. What is evident is the lack of transparency on the part of the Nigerian government. Regardless of the charges brought against him, Nnamdi Kanu's humanity, human and civil rights, as well as his dignity, must be recognized and preserved. Therefore, we call on the Federal Republic of Nigeria to abide by the guiding articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, to which Nigeria is a signatory, and to be informed by international human rights laws in its treatment of Nnamdi Kanu. We abhor the use of torture, and we condemn any form of detention without due process. We demand justice for Nnamdi Kanu. This is Rosama. This is BCB.